Welcome back to the Bud Light Southern Power Poll here on SouthernPigskin.com. Jim Johnson, Ben Troop, breaking it down as we do each and every week here on a Monday. Pretty interesting weekend. Let's just go ahead and start at the top of the poll. Clemson, holding pat. They handled Texas A&M for the most part. The first quarter was kind of interesting, and the score ended up being a little closer than it was.
Yeah.
I was annoyed. OAYP had them covering that big spread, and Texas A&M ended up backdoor covering there, but Clemson looked pretty in control for most of that game.
Yeah, the thing about it is, listen, if you're a betting man and you was trying to bet on that spread, I mean, you didn't really have a good day with as far as like Texas A&M. Kellen Mond was looking not so Kellen Mondish. I don't understand. I mean, he picked the wrong day to have his worst game, but yeah, man, at the end of the day, the score didn't kind of tell the story of the game. I was very, very impressed with Texas A&M the way they kind of like neutralized Travis Etienne, but Travis Etienne showed off. You know what I'm saying, catching the rock out the backfield really looked good, but at the end of the day, that defense, man, was just overwhelming to that Texas A&M offense. I mean, Isaiah, and Simmons, those guys, they went out there and really had their way. But Clemson is Clemson, Jim, and at the end of the day, 24-10, Clemson is really like 50-0 if you really break it down, because Texas A&M never ever had a shot. Kellen Mond missed that first series, missed a wide open touchdown pass. After that, it was all Clemson all day.
Yeah, and then Alabama hammered New Mexico State. They stay at 2. Now, here's our first big move, really, especially in the top of the poll yet that we've had this season. Georgia was at 3. They didn't do anything to lose that spot. Took care of an FCS team at home, won handily. But LSU going on the road, getting an impressive victory at Texas, and boy, that offense is like nothing that we've seen out of Baton Rouge in probably forever.
Joe Burrow, people keep talking about, is he going to take next step? Well, he took a huge step. I mean, going to Texas is not an easy place to win for anybody. I don't care who it is. LSU, I mean, enemy territory. Matthew McConaughey driving. I don't know what that was when he was driving down, make his picks. But I think he had 3 receivers over 100 yards. 1 receiver had 3 TDs. Great showing by LSU. Grant Delpit in the secondary really didn't have the day I thought they would have. But LSU, like you mentioned, won in a big-time spot, big-time game, big-time playoff implications on the line, was able to get a big dub. But like you mentioned, Georgia, they took care of business, but they didn't do anything to lose the third spot. LSU did everything to move it to that third spot.
Yeah, you're right. And Georgia's sitting there at 4, obviously. And I think you'd be hard-pressed to argue that those 4 teams aren't 4 of the top 6 teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
Worst.
Yes.
So really strong there at the top. Going to leave Auburn there at 5. They beat Tulane in a game they obviously should have won. Florida, FCS opponent, you guys took care of business. They have what would have been a really interesting matchup to me, going to Kentucky, trying to avenge the loss, but Kentucky losing Terry Wilson.
Yeah, you feel bad for him, man. Had over 100 yards rushing and had a big game, but I end up, I think, tearing his ACL. Man, you feel bad for that young man.
Yeah, that's a tough, pretty big blow for Kentucky, losing him for the rest of the season. Former Troy quarterback Sawyer Smith expected to step in there. Texas A&M, they were at 7 last week. We still have them at 7. They lost to Clemson. Like, does that even count?
No, because Clemson's going to have their way with anybody they play. I just think, once again, if Kellen Mond is even average on Saturday, that might be a total different game, man. We might be coming here today saying, did you see the way Texas A&M found a way to beat Clemson? But, I mean, he would just never, ever, ever really get it going. Got a touchdown at the end of the game to make it look respectable. But yeah, no shame in losing to Clemson. Everybody's on that schedule going to probably be putting up the L at the end of the game.
And we talked about Terry Wilson. Mississippi State actually lost their quarterback as well. He doesn't appear to be done for the season, but Tommy Stevens, after looking pretty good for most of the game, he goes down. And what was interesting, they actually replaced him not with Keaton Thompson, who was the presumed backup, but with Garrett Schrader. And then, as a matter of fact, Schrader had to go out for a play because his helmet popped off. They still didn't turn to Thompson for that one snap. They gave the reins to I believe a walk-on.
It was walk-on,
non-scholarship quarterback. But Mississippi State holding strong at 8. They play Kansas State this week, and we don't know that Stevens will be back. That one could be one to watch. And then at 9, Virginia's still there.
Yeah.
The Cavs have an interesting one. They're hosting Florida State this weekend, and
could it be a trap game for Virginia? Who knows?
I'm getting at. Florida State has looked okay in spots. The offense, I think, is
They balled the first half,
Right.
both games, and
What's going on with the defense?
It's a tale of two halves, man. And the thing about it is, I mean, Florida State, man, first game of the year, man, come out 31 points, don't score another game, end up losing to Boise State in the game that was supposed to be in Jacksonville, got moved to Tallahassee. Saturday, it was a head scratcher because once again, come out. I think Cam Akers had 36 carries.
Yeah.
But once again, second half, man, they kind of got away from him, man. And I just think that you really don't know with this Florida State team. That's why I say it could be a trap game for Virginia because Florida State doesn't lack talent. I think it's coming down to scheme. Second half, second half adjustments, but we'll see. I mean, is Florida State good enough to beat Virginia? Yes, but will they beat Virginia? We don't know because Virginia, they play rock solid. They're like a rock solid team both halves of the game, but we'll see because this Florida State team has been a head scratcher.
Yeah. I mean, they almost lost that one to ULM last week. All right, 10. This is one that you had been writing for.
Yes.
When we were breaking it down and kind of all of us sort of working together to form this week's ranking, you started talking about North Carolina early.
Yeah.
Like up near 6, 7 range.
Yeah.
We had them at 10. That's where we agreed upon as a group, everybody who was involved in it. But they have a really interesting matchup with our number 12 team this week. North Carolina making their debut in the ranking. Wake Forest also making their debut in the power pool or the power poll for 2019. They're going to play a non-conference game, despite being both in the ACC. They're going to play a non-conference game on Friday.
The thing about North Carolina, man, I mean, even though they've suffered I think they've suffered some big time injuries. That's probably going to hurt them, but. Who has played a tougher schedule thus far than North Carolina? I mean, you start out with South Carolina, neutral site, in Charlotte, Bank of America Stadium, get a big win. Miami's coming to town. Everybody, okay, Manny Diaz gonna finally get his first win as Miami head coach. Mac Brown and Mac Daddy said no. And the thing about it is, give North Carolina a lot of credit. There wasn't any expectation going into this year. I mean, Larry Fedora left that team in shambles. You didn't know what you have. I just think that you got a very, very resilient bunch. I think North Carolina is gonna. I'm not gonna decide who my pick is gonna be today, but North Carolina and Wake, man, is gonna be a better game than people giving the credit for. Two teams that always battling for. Not supremacy necessarily, but just respectability within the ACC because we're going to talk about the Clemson, the Florida States, and the Miamis. But, hey, man, last time I checked, Manny Diaz is 0-2 in Miami. Mac Daddy's 2-0. We'll see what happens come Friday.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. And this week is not a huge week. There's not for the first time in almost 2 years, there are no ranked matchups. We only have 2 teams in the power poll playing one another, so not a huge weekend, but could be some upsets, could be some unexpected, some surprises maybe. Whatever happens, we'll be here back with you next Monday to break it all down. This is the Bud Light Southern Power Poll on SouthernPigskin.com.